This is a video about my bikes and what bikes I've got now, what bikes I've had, and what I've found best for which situation. For me personally, being a cycle tourer, I'm not really an athlete at cycling. I do have a couple of nice sports bikes, but I'm not an athlete as such. And this is just to go through quickly what bikes I use for what purposes. This is my Specialized Secteur Sport. It's a sportive tour bike. It's very comfortable. It's got double padded bar and shifters. Underneath the rubber there's more rubber, which is really comfortable, and you can grip it tightly so you don't get cramp, and you can loosen your hands up better on the top of it, on top of the shifter, sorry. It's got carbon front forks with an active suspension right here. That's what that silver line bit is, and it's also got an aluminium frame which is very sleek and very good looking. It's got DT Swiss rims, and everything else is Sora shifters and everything. I think it's 27 speed. It's 3 by 9, so that's like 27. And yeah, it's a very nice bike. I've done a few miles on it, a couple of hundred maybe. I haven't really ridden it that much, but then again, I haven't seen the weather recently to ride it. I've had the bike quite a while, but I just go out for a black when it's nice and sunny. Although I have got mudguards on it, which it doesn't have eyelets here or here, but it does have rack eyelets, so you can put a rack on it and go lightweight touring or credit card cycling, as some people like to do. But the Sora derailleur I had to replace. It was a silver one. This is a new 10-speed derailleur on a 9-speed cassette. Basically what happened was the arm that connects the frame to the derailleur snapped, and the derailleur went in the back wheel. Luckily the wheel's okay, the spokes were fine. I did check it over thoroughly, but apart from that I haven't had any accidents on it or anything. And yeah, I just go for a bomb around town on this bike, and that's about all I do on this bike. It's just a nice luxury ride. If I want to do 30, 35, 50 miles in a day, I just hop on this. If it was an emergency, say, and I had to go somewhere and do something rather quickly, I jump on this rather than getting the bus, which would take forever to get anywhere, and it would be cheaper than a train. And that's about it for the Secteur Sport by Specialized. This is my Dawes Galaxy. It's an old one. He's a good old boy. He's got a Reynolds 521 frame. I believe it's 521 frame, and front forks. There's quite a big curve in the front forks, which I like, so you can take it nice and steady. You can do no hands on it, you can do all sorts on it, and it's a beefy old steel Reynolds frame touring bike. I don't know what the rims are. It's got, the brake levers are a bit pointy for my liking up here. They're a bit pointy on the top. I don't really like that, and these frames are small. Well, this frame is small, but it says medium on the frame, and like stamped actually on the frame. I can't remember whether it was a bottom bracket or on a sticker, but I think it's actually stamped on the bottom of the bottom bracket. I can't remember, to be honest. It's got Shimano bar end shifters, which well, they take a while to get used to, but these bikes have a reputation of their own, and this isn't a review to slag it off. This is just, everyone knows the reputation of Dawes, so there's not really much to say about this bike. For me personally, I have not ridden this bike much. When I got it, I think it was 200 and something quid, this bike, and to be honest, I don't regret buying it, but the amount of bikes I have versus the technology on other bikes I have now far surpass this bike. But I got it just because it was a classic bike and it's beautiful to ride. I put I think it's a top peak rack on it with a low rider bar. I did have front panniers on it, but I took them off. I didn't actually go touring on it in the end. I didn't actually go touring full stop this year. Yeah, this year in the end. But then again, you never know what's around the corner, and my injuries from last year's accident in 2014 caught up with me and hip problems, blah 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 blah. And that's the Dawes Galaxy. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a medium, and it's a Reynolds 521 frame. Right, now this bike I had never actually heard before I'd actually seen it on gumtree.co.uk or .com, either way. It's a very good touring bike. I had it about a whole week and it was just far too heavy for me. It was real good steel. I don't know what it was. It's ORBEA own brand steel, proper steel, chromoly, whatever you want to call it, double, triple butted forks, double butted frame, or whatever it's called. The gears were Tigra, I believe. They had a Sora rear mech. Dralia, same thing. There's not much else to say about it apart from I didn't like it. That's why I'm umming and ahhing so much. I sold it for good money. I paid good money for it. I thought I'd try it out, but as you can see here, the drifters, whatever you want to call them, it should be about here. Further down the handlebar, the same as on another bike I've got as well. But it wasn't too bad a bike, it was just too heavy for what I wanted it for. This bike right here is an epic bike. It is an epic bike. This is a Trek Alpha 1.2 and it is an epic bike. It does not matter what anyone else thinks. I have cycled Land's End John O'Groats on this bike with front and back panniers, fully loaded, and a handlebar bag. Even though it's Trek's own aluminium frame and thin, and I mean real thin, carbon fibre front forks. I know people are going to hate this, and I know I'm going to get shit for it, like I did when I was in a bike shop, and I told the guys, actually in 3 different bike shops, how do I fit panniers on the front to this, and I said don't, it's not worth it. But this bike survived. I actually wrote a book on my travels, that's how much stuff it took. On the racks, it has lug holes for racks. I had my guards on the same holes, so just cable tie them as you do on a tour. And on the front I got a U-clamp like that, because the forks are about the shape of your thumb. They're flat, they're not actually a round fork, they're like, my thumb is like a flat shape, flattish shape. But everything about this bike, this is a 54cm bike, absolutely perfect. As you can see, the seat is tilted downwards a bit. That's because I had a gel seat on it. I think I had the seat a little bit lower, like just 2 maybe 3 centimeters lower, like maximum 3 centimeters lower, when I had the gel seat on it, just to compensate for the gel seat. I'm not a professional, well, I wasn't a professional cyclist back then. I'm not a professional now, but I'm an experienced cyclist, sorry, let's say. And basically back then I just went with a pair of flip-flops, all my bags, what you need. You look at what I need, what I took with me on other trips, and that'll give you an idea of what I took on the Land's End John O'Groats trip. Just obviously different gear. That was in 2012. But I won't ramble on too much about this, because it's about bikes and not about cycling long distances over the course of 34 days and writing a book about it that never got published and probably never will. But that's my bad grammar in the book anyway, and that doesn't really matter. If you read it, that's half the funny thing about it. You laugh at me, that's good. I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. But yeah, that's a Trek Alpha 1.2. Immense, amazing, epic bike. That it is the dog's fucking balls, man. Like, serious. It is a dog's fucking balls. And that's all I have to say about that bike, really. Right, on with the touring bikes that I actually use, or in this case, this is a Ridgeback World Voyage, and my brother uses this in, not Stoke-on-Trent, Burton-on-Trent, but he's a pharmacist or something up there, medicinal biologist or something. And yeah, it's a good steel bike, Reynolds 520 frame. Like I say, my brother's borrowing this bike, so I haven't rid of that much. This is a 56cm model. It's slightly too big for me. The headset is too long. Not the headset, sorry, but the bit that joins the handlebars to the headset. That's a slight bit too long for me. I don't know why, but it's really too long, I find. And when I'm looking down to see if I can see the pivot, as most people say is right to fit a bike, I can see basically just straight down with lots of gap this side of the bike, so it's way too big for me, so I'll give it to my brother. These are well renowned bikes. They've got pretty much everything. It can hold 3 bottles, as you can see here. I actually forgot until I saw this picture just now that you'd have 3 bottles in this version, but the Reynolds frames, sorry, do quite often come with that, but you can always put a little weld on the underside and drill your own holes and thread your own holes for it if you wished, and even you could even on these frames, if you've done that, you could make thicker bolts for the one underneath, thicker bolt holes for the bottle underneath, just in case you kick it with your leg when you're getting on and off, or you lean up against a tree. Sometimes the stump or the roots of the tree are sticking out of the ground and will push the bottle carrier off and snap it off, whereas if snap the thread, not the threads, the screws, bolts, that's the word. I'm getting confused for a second. And yeah, but you go anywhere on this thing, I reckon. I got it from London, quite cheap. It's not stolen as I'm aware, but it's a good bike all round. And for about 600-700 quid, it's done me well, and my brother. This bike here is what I use as a general ragabout. Everyone's going to hate me for doing this to this bike after you obviously know what bike it is, but of course it's a Reynolds 725 frame, Ridgeback World Panorama. It's got a brick saddle, everything on it, the shifters, all the chain set and everything is dual XT, and this is about a 4-year-old bike now. Well, about a 3 or 4-year-old bike now. Got it second hand off an old friend, well, an old friend of a friend of a friend, and it's a really good bike. I got it, like I say, quite cheap, and with the intention of doing it up, and now I've done it up. In this picture it isn't done up, but you get the general idea. I haven't put racks or anything on it yet, but a lot of people travel around the world on this bike, and like I say, it's a Reynolds 725 frame and DRXC gears. There's not much to say about it really. The brick saddle needs some more attention from me. I need to get some wax or oil from somewhere for it. I'm not too sure where to get that from. And again, this has 3 opportunities to store water bottles for storage, and if in my case on the underside one I store a tin of peaches, to be honest. That's a little tip for you. You want some energy while having a fag, being unhealthy even though you're riding a bike, having a fag and you can drink your tin of peaches and brine. It sounds good to me, but it's lovely on a tour, especially if you're hot and if you're hungry, thirsty, whatever. There's a tin of peaches to do whatever, whenever. It's really good. That's what I do underneath with the bottom bottle cage. Sorry. I don't know what tyres are on this. There aren't any logos on them. As far as that say the name, it says the size and that, but I don't know what it is. But the double walled rims, obviously, and really dual hubs as well in the wheels, and the spokes are a little bit thicker, I think, but not by much, just a little bit. I don't think you need much to improve the spokes, but it seems to be a really hard going bike, and yeah, you can't really go wrong with a Panorama. But then again, you are looking at about 1400 quid for a complete bike with mudguards, racks and panniers, blah 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 blah. But that's down to you what you use it for. Like I say, this is just my ragabout bike. It's a bit old, all the bolts and that are rusting, and until I get some new bolts and the seals around here, which I actually had to fix the bearings, which are quite difficult because water got in on the underside one, and now it's like a bit compy when you're steering. You can feel like it has to travel over a bump, and not the bearing obviously with the new bearings, but along the wall of the actual steel frame itself, I reckon. There's no way I can get that out without proper tools, buffing tools and that, and I just don't have the money to afford them, and I don't want to respray the whole bike, and that's what the shop offered me, is a respray of the whole bike. And I say I just want the bumps gone out of my steering, but unfortunately apparently you have to redo the whole bike, which does not make sense. Oh, not respraying, sorry, sandblasting, that's the word I was trying to think of, sandblasting. He said you have to strip it down, sandblast it. I said I'd rather just have it in there, thinking, mate, anyway. He's alright, I like him, he's from Felixstowe, and the shop in the town centre in Felixstowe is quite nice. He's a good bloke, got a big guy with a beard. Yeah, so there's a bike shop in Felixstowe, and the guy with the beard's a really nice guy. You have to have a word with him, and he'll sort you out with anything you need. If he can't get it, then I'm sure he might have a second-hand spare part lying about. He's got loads of stuff in there. I've basically just taking the mudguards and that off while I'm repairing it, and like I said a minute ago, I'm gonna put all the racks and that back on the bike when I finish doing it all up and the bearings are the headset sorted out. And last but not least, my favourite bike in the whole world, my Ridgeback World Journey. Unfortunately, it's a bit worse for wear nowadays, because I got hit off in Wales last year, 35 miles from St David's, which was my target, and that's like 300 miles of touring. It's day 12, I believe. Yeah, day 12 I got hit, and I had 2 days of rest, just because it was a leisurely tour. This picture isn't new by any means, but I've recently bought some more of these camo pouches, and I've put everything on it that I can possibly think of putting on my bike. I've put on it, but the frame's a Reynolds 520 frame, so a normal standard frame as far as touring bikes go. But the secret lies with the Shimano Alpine 8 integrated gear hub system. It's a really good system. The only thing I should have got was a Gates belt drive, so it would be a bit more quieter, but it's not loud at all. It's not loud. It's just when you go over sand or something, grit gets inside the front sprocket here, and just clumps around a bit. But you just carry a toothbrush when you get out of the sandy area away from the beach, and it'll be alright. Just don't get sandy in your chain, you'll be fine. But if you're me, I like going places that you're not meant to go, to be fair. But yeah, basically I'll do another video of what's on my bike and everything when I finish a couple more videos. And that, the one thing about this bike I have majorly done is half of this bag's size in length, depth, breadth, whatever, is upwards to downwards. How tall it is, basically, whatever, it don't matter. Half of that is of lengthen the post at the top, and yeah, that was just to help my back from the accident, and just in general for touring. The seat is quite a little bit forward at the minute, in this picture, but that's just because I had the gel seat on as well. Like I say, if you want to know more about my bike, I'll do another video about it. But at the end of the day, this is the best bike I've found for me personally. I live in England on the east coast in a place called Suffolk, which is fairly flat, and 8 speeds could do me in Wales, getting up some really good size hills, like real good size hills. And well, some of the hills are just too big, but then again, I think anyone would be walking up a 17-degree incline. To be fair, that's a bit far to cycle up. It was about a mile and a quarter. I think it was a 1 mile hill, they say, but it's a mile and a quarter, or a mile and a fifth, or something silly, you know. But that doesn't matter anyway. And yeah, there's Alex rim wheels on it, everything like that, you know, all the bells and whistles, 3 bottle cages, and yeah, looks like an old school bike, and it handles like a beast. It is absolutely amazing. When I first started getting into touring and racing bikes, I weren't quite sure on the handlebars being like flat like that. Like you have a grippy hand bit here and a grippy hand bit there, which is quite flat. So it's not a whole contiguous smooth circle. It's like a bit weird and goes off in awkward angles, and I weren't too sure on that, but it actually really works. I was used to I used to have a Dawes Galaxy, which I will show you in a minute, but but just get this bike. They don't make them anymore. You see one second hand, you buy it, and if you don't like it, sell it to me, because I'll buy it for any amount of money, literally, man. Like, if I've got the money, I'll buy it off you, because they're that good a bike. I recommend these bikes more than your toes. Like, you don't need your toes as far as I'm concerned for cycling, so get this bike, trade your toes for it, you'll be away, mate. You'll be away. But yeah, I don't think there's any more bikes. I'm not really in a position to upload a lot of videos, but I'll what's that noise? Oh, it's my dog. It's kind of like dreaming or something. And but yeah, I'll keep everyone updated with my touring, because I know people have subscribed because of my touring videos, and a lot of people are unsubscribed now, so I think I should be getting back more into the bikes, and I might do a bit of road safety and say what's acceptable and what's not. Obviously that's going to be controversial with me, but fuck them, they're only fucking car drivers. Well, no problem with cars, I have a problem with BMW and Mercedes drivers. That's who I have a problem with. And if you're watching this and you're a BMW driver or a Mercedes driver, please stay away from me, man. Please, you're risking my life. So please, for my kids, like, just stay away from my bike, please. Thank you. Peace, love. Good night.